Packers, the number 2 overall ranked defense, against Kurt Warner and the Cards, and we certainly know their pedigree. Who has an advantage there, if either?
Well, I'm going to go with the Packers because their overall physicality. The Arizona Cardinals are just a finesse football team and too many injuries, Tommy.
Dom Capers has figured out how to get that defense to get after you. I've got a stable target in Kurt Warner. I give the edge to the Packer D.
When you're a passing offense and you have 2 elite wide receivers that are your targets and one of them is iffy, you're in trouble. I give the edge to the Packers.
Well, I love Kurt Warner, but the Packers have the edge for this reason. Plus 24 turnover takeaway ratio. That is the best in the league.
And Arizona's -7, so that's like 2 a game different. If that happens, that's going to be tough for Warner to overcome. But let's give him credit. His pedigree in the postseason, 5 300-yard games, the most is 6, 64.8% completion percentage, highest in postseason. And I think they were like 5-1 without Bolden. I know he's great. So, and Warner in a dome is great. So Arizona's got a lot they think is okay. Test your football IQ with the GMC Sierra engineered new win. All right, Bob, thank you very much. Well, postseason experience. Well, I mean, Kurt Warner against Aaron Rodgers, 11 games versus none. Although asked about postseason experience this week, Bill Belichick said, well, didn't matter much in 01 when Brady played. So who knows? Can Aaron Rodgers outplay a veteran, Kurt Warner, who is one of the best statistical and certainly winners in postseason in the last decade? Tommy, what do you think? Can Aaron outplay him?
Yeah, absolutely. Once they started to protect him, I think that, you know, the capabilities of what he could do went off the charts. Look, it's the ultimate team game, and what Green Bay started to do is to run the football. Ryan Grant, 632 yards and 7 touchdowns. The last half of the season turned those sack numbers around. Aaron Rodgers was on his way to having his life changed. He was going to get sacked 70-plus times. It was going to change his entire career. The Green Bay Packers stopped that by running the football along with Ryan Grant.
Well, the only thing I can say, Tommy, this guy to me, he gets it. He understands the game. He knows what and what not to do, and I think that's important. First quarterback in NFL history to throw for over 4,000 yards in both his first 2 years as a starter. That's pretty good. I
think he will outplay him. In terms of sacks, they're not playing the Minnesota Vikings. The Arizona Cardinals defense, they don't get after the quarterback quite like that. They have to do things and mix things up in their scheme coming out of the secondary. The wide receiver position is very important to the Green Bay Packers with Jennings and Driver and James Jones as their 3. When you look at it, Kurt Warner's probably going to be missing Anquan Bolden, which is an important part of the passing game for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, Kurt Warner, he has a great playoff record. Great clutch quarterback, has been throughout his career. But this is not Aaron Rodgers' first stage. The first time he got on the stage was when Brett Favre decided to retire, and he was announced to be the starting quarterback. So this is a guy who has waited on this moment. He handled that moment well, and I believe that he will handle this moment well.
And just for a moment, when you talk about Kurt Warner, they have problems because they don't have any balance. They do not run the football. They don't trust Beanie Wells to run the ball without putting it on the ground. So that's number 1. He's a stationary target. If I'm a defender coming at a quarterback, I want the guy that's standing 7 yards deep, 5 yards deep, not moving, no threat to run. If you do that, you give me the opportunity to knock you down. And if he gets knocked down, he's going to look 38, which is what he is.
And you remember, Boom, yesterday's games? I'm pretty sure you
I don't remember yesterday's game.
I'm going to make you remember the Dallas and the Cincinnati game.
What do you remember?
They didn't play their players that well. The Philadelphia Eagles at the end of the games and as well as Cincinnati. Arizona did the same thing.
Well, Philly did.
Philly played, but they didn't play.
They didn't play well.
They didn't play.
But,
so you look at Arizona's situation, same thing. They got toasted in the toaster.
You're saying that Arizona can't just plug it in. Like, I understand what you're saying. Well, another thing, you know what Aaron Rodgers does really well for a young QB? Young, although he sat and watched a lot. We know about Jennings and Driver. Good screen player.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Really good screen game with Grant. Really strong. And I like, to your point, Mike McCarthy figured, I know I got some guys that played in that championship game 2 years ago. I got a lot of young guys. Let's keep the pedal to the metal last year, even though we're not going to gain anything. Let's keep going. Young guys, let them keep playing. That's what they did. Well, that's one of the big late questions, in this late game. Who will play quarterback the best? Kurt Warner, the veteran. You know he's going to play well against Aaron Rodgers, the youngster. For 10 burning questions, our igniters, Morton Adam.
All right, thanks, Boom. Here we are with 10 questions. Let's start with the Seahawks. Who
today doesn't mean to win the game. More touchdown passes. Touchdown passes. Kurt Warner, Aaron Rodgers.
It better be Kurt Warner if Arizona's going to have any chance to win the football game, because that's the way they get into the end zone.
I'm going with Aaron Rodgers. He's gonna take advantage of the show to the stage.
Rodgers.
Rodgers gets it, believe me.
They both get it.
At the buzzer.
Well, if the defending NFC champs, our Cardinals, are able to advance to the playoffs today, it's big defensive players. That's right. We're going to help them do it. And keep your eyes on defensive tackle Darnell Dockett. Your ears open, too. So let's make the picks. Packers at the Cardinals. Adam, you're first up.
Packers 27-24. Packers offensive line playing much better.
Well, it's in the big toaster, right?
Yes.
So I see a toaster burner with the Packers winning 37-31.
I've got the Pack at 30-20 winning the football game. I need to say happy birthday to Morgan Lee Jackson, my youngest. She just got to double digits at 10.
I'm going with the Pack 34-31.
I'm going with the Pack 24-17. You know, Boom, the homeboys don't like the cold, so they glad to be out of Green Bay.
Homies.
The Pack, 31-24.
You're all on the Packers,
Yep.
huh?
Yep.
Me too. I need to win.
Go ahead and go on.
No, it's Pack 27-24. All right. Ooh.
Playoff football on Fox. There's nothing better. And today we've got a good old-fashioned duel out west between two of the best quarterbacks around, Aaron Rodgers and Kurt Warner. Rodgers won round one last week, but round two is the only one that matters. It's the final of 4 wild card games this weekend as the Green Bay Packers take on the Arizona Cardinals. The winner moves on, the loser goes home. And it all begins with a Built Ford Tough Fox NFL Sunday pregame show. Howdy, gang. I'm Kurt Menefee. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, the Jets and Cowboys have already advanced to the divisional round of the playoffs. The Bengals and Eagles are out. We are about to get down to the Elite Eight, so why don't we begin with this fearsome foursome we like to call Jimmy, Michael, Howie, and Terry. What time of year is it, Jimmy?
It's playoff time. It's time for the rings.
And all right here.
There's 8 of them up here.
What if you count the wedding rings?
Oh, boy.
I think it's like 10. Who has the most in each category?
Well, I'm going to throw 7 rings on this table.
All right, guys. Let's get to how the Dallas Cowboys got there and last night in Big D. Get away.
Now I get knocked down, and I get up again. Hi, Kurt. How you doing? Big injury questions for the Arizona Cardinals all week. Everybody's good with one major exception, Anquan Bolden. He is out with a bad knee, bad ankle, inactive. So, Troy, that is a major weapon not available to Kurt Warner. And if you talk about Kurt Warner, if history teaches us anything, we should know what to expect from number 13 here today.
Well, and I think that's what Arizona has going for them, is that they've got someone who's been here before. As good as he has been in the regular season, he has been that much better in postseason, making his 12th start in the playoffs, 8-3 during that time. Of course, you look back to last year and all the success that he was able to bring and lead this team to the Super Bowl. They're hoping that he can get hot again and repeat that performance again this year.
And we'll be talking a lot about a matchup on the outside with Larry Fitzgerald and Charles Woodson, who would get our vote for defensive MVP of the NFL for this 2009-2010 season. On the other side, Aaron Rodgers gets a start for Green Bay. I would say you can make a pretty strong case that coming into the postseason, no quarterback's hotter around the NFL than Aaron Rodgers.
Well, not only hot right now, but he's been hot all season long. But with Aaron Rodgers, there's a bit of an unknown, whereas Kurt Warner, he has 11 starts in postseason. Here, Aaron Rodgers is making his first. But the one thing that really helps him, Joe, is the fact that they're playing the Cardinals again today. They played them last week, and in speaking with Aaron Rodgers, he really feels that the preparation from last week carried over to this week and made for a much easier transition into this game.
You ready to watch the rest?
Game that does indeed matter is just moments away. Pam Oliver joins us now with more. And Pam, as the Cardinals try to jumpstart another magical run to the Super Bowl, are they at all concerned about last week?
Well, Kurt, it definitely left a bad taste, and I think it also got their attention, put it that way. The Cards are about as resilient as they come. They did not lose consecutive games this season, and they are counting on their proven ability to bounce back to handle themselves in this ball game today. The NFC champs want the Packers bad, and as you're about to hear, they also want some better jewelry.
Then, Santonio with a touchdown! and we had a taste, and we had it in our hands. And which is a feeling you never get rid of, because you know you're just 1 or 2 plays away from, holding the trophy and being world champions.
What did you get for being NFC champs last year?
Well, a lot of disappointment because we didn't win the Super Bowl, but you get NFC championship rings.
Honestly, I've seen that thing like 2 times, and I don't care nothing about that. Don't get me wrong, the road there was amazing. I've never even put it on my finger before.
Because?
I play for the big one. We're all proud of our accomplishment last year, but at the end of the day, we're only second best.
Nothing's ever good enough until you actually get back and win it.
Are you good enough to get there?
I think so. Hopefully we'll become more and more consistent, but I think that when we play our game the way we've shown that we can play, absolutely we're good enough.
That's the one question about our football team is we can play great for 3 weeks, but then we have this one game where you just say, what team is that? Because last year we got on the roll at the right time. We can't have one of those slip-ups.
Thank goodness this one's over. A rear end whipping.
We were too wrapped up at that point in still having been the NFC champion. Instead of focusing, ended up 1-2 at the bye week. From that point, we kind of put everything behind us and moved forward.
Is this a better team than last year?
It's different. It's different from the offensive standpoint, is that we're a lot more balanced.
Back-to-back NFC West champs. Congratulations, guys.
Hey. We champs, baby. We champs.
We're champions. That's what I like the best. Back-to-back. How about that? Unbelievable.
Playoffs?
Last year was magical. What if there's no more magic?
I don't think it was magical for us. I think it was all hard and effort. Green Bay stands in front of what we want.
They beat us pretty good. That bothers you. I think it upset our players too, and that was why it was a little bit easier this week to get focused on our working.
Any worries heading into this game?
You're always anxious. I get nervous Sunday night or Monday, of the week, because I don't want to go home.
Having a quarterback come out and say, he put 60 points on our defense.
Well, he did.
Yeah, you're right. Playoffs is just totally different. And our energy is going to be something that probably Green Bay ain't seen in a minute. I can promise you that.
And Duckett said he didn't even bother looking at film from the previous 2 meetings. Instead, he looked at the Packers when they played Dallas and Pittsburgh to get a better idea. And, of course, all the film indicated what he already knew, and that is that the Packers are feisty on offense. Aaron Rodgers has to be disrupted, and that they have to play very disciplined in all 3 phases of the game today if they want to make another magical run. Kurt, back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Pam. And, TB, they can say it didn't count. But the Packers dominated them twice, preseason and a blowout game last week. What does Arizona have to do to actually win today?
Well, first of all, we think of Arizona, you think of explosion. With Anquan Bolin, their all-pro receiver, out. This is a football team last year had 8 plays over 50 yards. Passes, I'm talking about 5 for touchdown. Very explosive. Breaston comes in for Bolden. Early Doucette then goes to the slot. Here's what I do. Spread them out, Jimmy Howie. Spread them out so you can identify the 3-4 and isolate those blitz packages. And trust Kurt Warner to do his job. No one does it better.
Well, Kurt Warner didn't play last week, and, of course, preseason is the preseason. But at the same time, when you do beat the team twice, it gives you confidence. But with Kurt Warner, one thing he does well this year, he gets rid of the ball. He's not sitting back there holding it, taking the shots. And when you talk to the guys from the Vikings, they said it didn't matter what kind of protection, because they gave him great protection, the ball was coming out really quickly out of his hand.
You look at this Arizona team, I think they're better this year than they were a year ago when they went to the Super Bowl. They're better on defense. They run the ball better. But let's face it, this is Kurt Warner's football team. There was a report that he may retire, he may not retire. That's not really a report. Right. And I'll say this.
That's a shot. That's what that is.
If he does retire, from what I've seen of Matt Leinart, they better find him a quarterback, because Kurt Warner's the guy with this team.
Shot. Well, Arizona is a different football team, and they did get rid of the ball very quickly versus Minnesota. This is a lot more complex of a defense. Dom Capers, count the linebackers, count the number of linemen with their hands on the ground. How does that offensive line count people? And the difference in that Pittsburgh game is this. Ben Roethlisberger's 255 pounds. He's a big man, throwing defenders on the ground, then making the big throw. That's not Kurt Warner.
All right, guys, we are just a few minutes away to kick off to wrap up our shortened pregame show this week. Of course, our show is usually 60 minutes. And that, of course, leads us to Frank's Cold Hard Picks, presented by Coors Light.
All right, the game's about to start, so they only gave me 30 seconds. 30 seconds? That barely gives me time to tell you that Mike Shanahan's the new Redskins coach. And I thought this guy inherited a lot of problems in Washington. And how about today's game? Green Bay at Arizona. It's the frozen tundra versus the frozen margarita. I'm a Kurt Warner fan. He reminds me of that quarterback I liked when I was growing up. What's his name? Oh, yeah, Kurt Warner. What? We're out of time. I haven't even made my pick. Cardinals!
His best work of the season.
Yeah,
you know,
well, he was shorter.
Cut his time down. He's better.
Delivered.
By the way, congratulations to Howie Long. He finished the regular season as the lead dog.
Means nothing.
Yeah, that's right, because the playoffs are a whole new ball game. Right now, Howie leads Jimmy by 3 points, and then it's Terry, Michael, and Frank. But all this can change quickly. First round of the playoffs worth 4 points, and it goes up each round as we continue. But today, for 4 points, Frank likes the Cardinals to fly by the Packers. Jimmy.
I like the Packers.
What are the games today? Oh, okay, I'll take Green Bay.
You know, if Arizona's on, they're a scary football team. I'd go with the team I trust.
Nah, they don't have the firepower, I don't believe. I'm going to go with Green Bay.
All right. You know, before we get out of here, one other thing. It was a big week for someone on this set.
It was.
Yeah. Someone had a monumental birthday today. Mr. Howie Long turned 50 years old this week. Half a century. Happy birthday, big boy.
Happy birthday, Howie.
Happy 50th birthday.
What was the biggest accomplishment turning 50?
Surviving 16 years in this marriage. Some of those years have been dog years.
This has been the longest marriage I've ever had.
Congratulations to both.
The only thing is, that helmet will never fit your head.
I don't know, it's kind of wide. It's kind of wide.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy
I
birthday.
appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Thank you, girls.
Kickoff of round one of the playoffs here on Fox. The Green Bay Packers and the Arizona Cardinals comes your way. Up next, we will see you again at halftime.
Welcome to Glendale, Arizona, and welcome to the end of Wild Card Weekend. A matchup for you today on Fox. The Green Bay Packers, a wild card winner, the Arizona Cardinals, winners of the NFC West. Now, welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. I am Joe Buck. That is Troy Aikman. The Arizona Cardinals are the defending NFC champions. They were one Pittsburgh Steelers 78-yard drive away from winning it all last year. And, Troy, they come into this game with a guy at quarterback, Kurt Warner, who knows how to play this time of year.
I think that's what Arizona really has going for them is Kurt Warner's experience this time of year. As good as he's been in the regular season, he's been that much better in postseason play. But today, he's going to have some help. One, that offensive line is going to have to be able to protect him so that he can do the things that he does best. And then secondly, as cliche as it sounds, this is an offense that has not done a good job protecting the ball, and they're going up against a Packers defense that thrives on the takeaway.
Big weapon is not here today for the Arizona Cardinals. Anquan Boldin out with a bad knee and ankle. For Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers, red hot. It's why they're a dangerous team.
He not only comes into postseason red hot, but he's been good all season long. He's a little bit of an unknown, making his first postseason start, but he's an awfully good player, and he's excited about coming in and playing in this one. But the matchup that I think is going to be real key in this ball game is Charles Woodson against Larry Fitzgerald. Last week in that game, Charles Woodson got the better of Fitzgerald, and it's going to be worth the price of admission here today.
It's ought to be a lot of fun here this afternoon. Playoff football. The Green Bay Packers, the Arizona Cardinals. We'll be back after this from the Verizon Football Zone. Getting set for kickoff. How about a visit first from Greg Jennings of the Packers? Here is Pam Oliver.
Well, Greg, a lot of smack talking between both teams this week. Tell me about your offense and what do you guys emphasize against that defense?
Well, we're not worried about the Arizona Cardinals. We just got to come out and worry about ourselves and execute start off fast and gain momentum early.
Appreciate your time, Greg. Let's go over to Chris Myers, who's with Kurt Warner.
All right, Pat, Kurt, what is not having Anquan Bolden do to this offense against Green Bay today?
Well, it obviously changes us. You know, Anquan's a huge leader for us, a huge playmaker for us. But we've got a lot of confidence in our young guys. We expect them to come in and play well and, you know, give Anquan some time to heal, and hopefully we'll be out there next week and he'll be with us.
All right, the roof is open. That's the way you want it. Good luck, Kurt. Appreciate your time. All right, back up to you, Joe.
All right, Chris, we're glad Chris is with us, and certainly with Pam, who's with us week in and week out. There's Charles Woodson, who has had, I think by all accounts, an MVP-type season defensively for the Green Bay Packers. In fact, he will find out Wednesday if he is named the Defensive Player of the Year. And now you look at Nick Barnett, who mans the middle of the defense for Green Bay, and Kurt Warner, who's the focus for Arizona. Green Bay won the toss. They receive, and Jordy Nelson will receive the kick from Rackers.
And you get to go play the #1 seed in the first game of the day on Saturday. Those are the matchups that are now set as a result of yesterday's action. The Saturday games will be Arizona at New Orleans early, Baltimore at Indianapolis. That's the Saturday night primetime game. Dallas at Minnesota is the early game on Sunday, and then the JETS Jets at San Diego is the late game on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Chris Carter is on the way. We are just getting started. Now, you brought it up. Packer fans are
The Arizona Cardinals put up 51 to advance to the second round of the playoffs. We welcome in the coach of this offensive juggernaut, Mr. Ken Whisenhunt. Let us start with the end of the game against the Packers. The coin is flipped, the Packers win it, and you are thinking exactly what?
I was worried. I thought that at that point it didn't look good for us because we didn't win the toss.
And now we know that your defense made the game-winning play, but the defense struggled, as did Green Bay's defense. People were running free, receivers running free all game long. Are you planning to change your approach against Drew Brees?
Well, we better. I mean, I don't know if we can have another day like that, especially offensively. So we got to do something to slow him down. We're working on. One of the things we got to do better is tackle better. You know, the thing that gets lost is that we did have a pretty good half against them. The first half, our defense played well, held them to 10 points, and then we kind of fell apart in the second half. So a lot of those things were physical errors that we made. We're working on correcting those because we know it's going to be tough against this quarterback this week as well.
Ken, is there any feeling this week that your guys are either emotionally or physically spent? Because that was an exacting playoff game you were involved in. Is it hard to bounce back from something like that, even as happy as you guys were to win it?
I think it is on a short week like this. It's especially tough. But the one thing that we've got going for us is that we can maybe put this game behind us because we were in the playoffs last year. We understand that when you have an emotional win like that, that next game's coming pretty quick. So we do have a little bit of experience with that. I'm hoping we can, because it does. This game's going to come up on us on Saturday this week pretty quick. And, you know, you can't afford to have a slow start or make some mistakes against this team. So, you know, we've got to put it behind us and move forward. And we talked about that extensively.
Ken, it was interesting being in Arizona last week and hearing all the stories, reading all the stories about Kurt Warner possibly retiring. And the closer we got to game day, the more of those there were. And even after the victory, how do you feel when you hear all those stories, particularly now in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, you don't like it, first of all, just from the distraction value of it, because, you know, you don't want to have other people worried about those type of things. And then the other thing is you don't like it because of your future, because Kurt's played so well for us the last 2 years and has been such an integral part of going to the playoffs 2 years in a row, winning the division twice. He's playing at such a high level, you don't want to think about the prospects of him not being with your offense. So, you know, it's twofold. It's not something that you like hearing, but you know, it's certainly aware that it's out there now.
Well, let me distract you even further. What do you think he's going to do? I mean, do you talk to him about this?
You know, not really. No, I don't think that this is the time to talk about that. I think that Kurt does a great job of making those decisions. He's said publicly he doesn't want to make an emotional decision. That's something that he'll worry about once the season's over. You know, I guess we'll just take it and see how it progresses once the season's over, which hopefully won't be for a few weeks.
All right, let's get to something that everybody wants to know, which is your relationship with your kicker, Neil Rackers, right now today.
It's fine. It's good. We talked today about it, as a matter of fact. You know, it was a tough situation. I think that there was a little bit of confusion at the end of the game about us having a timeout left or not. And, you know, that led to, I think, a little bit of uncertainty on his part about whether he was going to kick. And I think that contributed to the miss. Now, you know, we talked about it. There's no excuse for missing the field goal from that standpoint. But I think the thing that you have to look at, too, is that he's been very accurate for us this year and made a number of kicks. And I don't think because of this one thing that you can make a snap judgment about Neil. And it certainly hasn't affected our relationship.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's go to break. When we come back.
Quarterbacks were fantastic. 51-45 the final. In that Sunday barn burner, these two guys, Warner connected on all but 4 of his attempts. Aaron Rodgers passed for over 400 yards, fought its way back to trailing by 17 points. They were down 31-10 at one point. Warner's 5 touchdowns tied a wild card record. They both had passer ratings well over 100.
You knew we needed them. You knew we needed every play. It was going to take that kind of effort against these guys. We knew how tough it was going to be on our defense with all the weapons they have offensively and how they've been playing. You know, and it was just one of those games where I felt great. I loved our playing. I felt like I was seeing everything well, and, you know, and it accumulates to 50 points.
All right, the 96 points, as you see right there, the most ever
easily
in playoff history. Marshall, you got dizzy just watching this one back and forth, huh?
As an offensive guy, Fran, it was a great pleasure to watch 2 quarterbacks go to work. I think about Kurt Warner, and I expect Kurt to have games like this, especially when guys do not touch him. But Aaron Rodgers, 422 yards, 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception. The key is, though, that 1 interception, but the 5 sacks. If you look at how Kurt played, Kurt got rid of the ball when he needed to. Aaron Rodgers, what a great performance by the young guy.
Great performance, because you figure in your first game on the road, throwing your first pass as an interception, it got to go all downhill from that point. And this kid picked himself up off the mat, as he did earlier in this year, and led that team back all the way back. But, hey, got to come up with one more play. And you see that little rush on the outside? He had to see that out of the corner of his eye when he got ready to put that ball up. That was another pressure around him. Wasn't free to make that play, because, boy, was he open deep.
You played in a high-flying offense. Have you ever been part of a playoff game like this?
I was. 1999, we played.
Third on the list.
That's right.
Third on the list.
We played
Kurt Warner was your quarterback.
Kurt Warner was our quarterback. We played the Minnesota Vikings. And the Minnesota Vikings at that time, you got to think Jake Reed, Randy Moss, and Chris Carter. Right. And we had to go up against them. So going into that game, Mike March said in the meeting room, listen, guys, we're going to have to outscore this team. Our defense, they might stop it once, but we have to score every time we touch the football, and that's what we did. A la Kurt Warner and them, I believe they punted once, and 51 points. Boy, that's amazing.
Somebody said 5 third downs. You know, I always call it the money down. If it's only 5 third downs, you got to take advantage. And you see those 5 sacks
you can avoid the money down now.
You can avoid. There's no way you can avoid the money down. Somebody's got to play defense. But the best part about this game was that it ended on a great defensive play. With all those points, you still need a defender to make one play, and that's what it did.
All right, coming up later, we're going to talk about whether the Cardinals can get this same type of performance against the high-flying New Orleans Saints. Speaking of the Saints, finally, who's going to have a bigger day, Kurt Warner or Drew Brees?
Boy, I'm going with Kurt Warner here. Kurt will have a bigger day. Wow. Drew Brees will have a day that's just as good, but Kurt in the playoffs, the guy is just money. You watch him, nothing bothers him when he's in the pocket.
Unless you can hit him in the mouth, because he's not getting off the trade track. But Drew Brees will get the win, but Kurt Warner will have the better numbers.
I like Drew Brees in this game. I think he will. I think Kurt Warner's been sensational, but that offensive line going on the road, Jeremy Bridges, the backup left tackle, did a great job yesterday, but now he's got to play on the road, crowd noise in the Superdome. I don't really like that matchup. I think Kurt Warner will get hit this week. It'll bother him.
Who says you guys can't
have a bigger day?
We only heard
the top 10 wild card games of all time. You guys, I know you've played in a lot of postseason games. Marshall, what's your most memorable playoff game?
Not many wild card games, and I know that was about wild cards, but I think about the NFC Championship back in 1999. We were a high-power offense, and we played this high-power defense.
Doesn't like that answer. I guess get back here.
11-6. 11-6. They held us to 11 points. You know, Sapp will call it a lucky.
2 of those.
Exactly. He'll say they gave us 2. But, you know, all in all, big fella, that was a great game.
It was a great game.
I enjoyed
great
playing
game.
you guys.
Great game, no doubt about it.
Man.
Ricky Prohl down the sideline with 4:44 in the fourth
we
quarter.
had to go to Ricky Prohl to score on him.
And he caught it sideways with his ball.
Clearly not one of Warren's favorite memories.
You know, it was my first trip. But
the way he executed that offense. But Kurt Warner against, and as you said, let's remember now, this wasn't against a bad Packer defense. This is against one of the better defenses in the National Football League. They only had to attempt, I'm talking about Arizona now, 5 third-down attempts. They got 3 out of the 5. That tells you your quarterback, Kurt Warner, was absolutely on fire. It was an amazing game to watch. I love the way that each team responded emotionally to being up, being down. We could have played 3 more hours and it would have been back and forth. It had changed hands 50 times.
Brian, you know, Aaron Rodgers played at Cal, as you know. He's a Northern California kid. And there's some people that say, what if the 49ers had taken him #1?
The game has a chance to win another Super Bowl with probably his best team ever assembled during his career.
Well, better than Reggie White and that group was up there in Green Bay?
Don't interrupt me. Chris, back to you.
This is the best show I've ever been on. You're definitely coming back next week.
He has a chance, Chris. With the team that's been assembled in Minnesota, they have
They're a
great
good team.
a quality team.
They really are.
I can't. Would you guys shut up so we can do the other game for a minute now?
That's my question.
Here
That's
we
why I
go.
like the
We've
Dallas
got another
Cowboys.
game in the NFC we've got to talk about. The Arizona Cardinals taking on the New Orleans Saints. Arizona Cardinals in this past game, they put up 51 points, whatever. The Green Bay Packers, though, 45 in a losing effort. And I'm telling you, if Aaron Rodgers just hits a couple more throws, they could have scored 70 against that defense.
Well, you know, there's a couple things about that. You look at the game, too. Aaron Rodgers made some unbelievable throws into tight coverage, and they broke many tackles, those receivers. You'd like to think Arizona they're athletic. They'll be better at tackling this week. And they gave up about 200 extra yards just in unbelievable throws and breaking tackles and getting those extra yards.
Phil, what I want to go back to is I feel that you have to have momentum going into the postseason. One of the things that you don't want to do is just like shut it down thinking that you could press the button again. In this game, as we all know, that the urgency button has to be pressed every week.
Well, I'm going to ask you, didn't y'all go into the playoffs in New England playing well? You were winning games?
Yes.
You go in there? So
yes.
The momentum,
we covered that the last segment.
Okay.
You've heard enough.
This is about the Phoenix
momentum.
And Saints.
I understand, but sometimes you can have momentum go in and still lay an egg, and some teams are not hot. It's one game. It's about matchups.
Right. It's about matchups. But the fact here is you do not rest. You do not rest in the National Football. I don't believe in resting in the National Football League. You either go with the guys that are healthy and game plan what you have to do and execute, or you're not going to win, period.
My favorite part is that you've only been here one day and you're already irritated with him. You're feeling my pain now. You got the whole thing.
The table here. It's a linebacker and quarterback. Always.
All right, while they continue to argue here, we've heard what we're going to say about this game. Now let's go over to talk to one of the marquee players in Sunday's game. That would be Jared Allen. For that, let's go. Right, we have one set of wild card highlights left. And if you like high-scoring shootouts and crazy endings, then we have the game for you. Green Bay at Arizona.
Welcome to the NFL playoffs. The Green Bay Packers take on the Arizona Cardinals.
The Cardinals last week, they get blown out by the Packers.
This is payback. Starts right now. Payback. Get after him. Let's go. Together. Together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Together.
Let's get this party started.
Pressure coming, he's forced out, rolling right, pumps, and now throws back across the middle and tipped and intercepted. Green Bay turns it over on the first play. And Rodgers with a quick throw to the left side, it's caught.
Stripped the ball, ripped it right out.
The Cardinals come over and they get it. The Packers wondering what hit them. They've turned it over twice.
Let's go, all this. No. Let's go.
And I think the start of this game is important. You know the Cardinals are going to try to establish an edge.
Back to throw, fires over the middle, it's caught. Inside the 10-yard line, inside the 5, touchdown, early to
shoot.
It is 14-0 Arizona.
Chill. Pick them boys up. We've been in this situation before.
Hey, just keep playing. Don't get frustrated.
There you go.
Plenty of time for things to get a lot worse.
Warner's got time, steps up, throws over the middle. It's caught by Doucette at the 10, spins out of a tackle at the 5. And Doucette takes it in for the touchdown. Wow!
Yes, they can't stop us. Let's go.
Throwing over the middle, Fitzgerald wide open to the 20, loose to the 10, Fitz is in! It is 31-10 Cardinals with 11:15 to go here in the third.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
The boys of this Packer team tested here on the road this afternoon now.
Let's go, fella. Let's go. We pick it up. J. Mike. We pick it up, all right? On our arm, we pick it up.
Their hands looked jittery, but they helped Green Bay claw back into the game.
Rodgers looks, drills the right side of the end zone. Touchdown!
Great
catch by Jennings.
That's the playmaker right there. That's what we need.
Rodgers' pass was behind him, and he stuck his left paw out there and snared it.
We have the balls to onside it. This is pretty good. This feels eerie.
We're going to surprise on
Nice
side.
job, yeah, don't everybody give it away. They'll let everyone talk.
Can the Packers stop Kurt Warner and the Cardinals?
But the thing is, stop him.
Onside kick by Mason Crosby, caught across the 40-yard line by the Packers.
Let's go. There's a lot of time.
Can the Packers climb back into this game before the fourth quarter? Tightroping to the sideline, Jordy Nelson to the pylon for the touchdown! And the Packers climb back into it, down just 7, 31-24.
Y'all boys playing like some men out there. Great job, baby. Hey, keep doing your thing. Let's go.
And let's win this game. They're kicking our ass straight up. Ain't no excuses.
Come on. Everybody trying to
stop them now.
Got a whole quarter, coach.
In the last 18 minutes of regulation, the teams combined for 5 touchdowns in what would be the highest scoring game in playoff history. Aaron Rodgers' 4th touchdown pass tied the score with under 2 minutes remaining.
Touchdown! We're tied at 45. The Cardinals cannot stop the Packer offense.
It's a shootout today, baby. Yeah, let me see something. Let me see something, Mike. Yeah. How did this happen?
Let's go. We win. Let's milk this clock and finish it. Win it at the buzzer. Let's go.
And Warner will get a chance to win it for the Cardinals. 1:52 to work with. Arizona's 3 timeouts left. This is scary. We're down to 14 seconds to go in regulation. The score is tied at 45, and the Cardinals are in field goal range.
Come on, Neil.
34-yard field goal attempt for Neil Rackers.
The most accurate kicker in the NFL.
Here it is, the placement, the kick to the uprights, and it is...
He missed it. He missed it.
No good.
He pulled it left. Oh, my goodness. It was not even close. We are heading to overtime.
Let's go. We gotta go again. We go again. Let's go. We gotta go again. We go again.
Make their ass pay for that, baby. Make their ass pay for that.
If we do not stop them, we lose the game.
That's right. This is it. That's right.
This is it. How bad do we want to win?
We will not go quietly into the night. Because they're trying to get themselves jacked up because they know what's coming. They can't stop us.
Rodgers and company red hot. Incomplete rhythm. On 1st and 10, he fakes the handoff, bootlegs right. Now stops, gets a block, looks, wings it deep down the middle. Pass over, shot, Jennings incomplete. That would have been ball game in one play.
Come on, fellas.
3rd and 5 at the 25-yard line of Green Bay. A minute gone by in overtime. Rodgers dropping back, in trouble. Rodgers hit. Ball came out. Cardinals have it. Dansby, he's going to score. Cardinals win. They're going to New Orleans.
And the game is over. Ball triggered loose. What a way for it to end.
I think we have just witnessed NFL history, legend, and lore.
Listen up. That to me is what a team does, okay? That was a good football team we played, guys. You got to give them credit, all right? But we played better football today.
Well, it was perhaps only fitting that the game that defense forgot ended on a pretty big defensive play. All right, folks, time now for more thrills and spills as we open up the grab bag, and we start with question number 1. Would you want your coach making Super Bowl guarantees like Rex Ryan?
Absolutely.
Oh, you would?
Absolutely. Okay. You know why? Because when you have a team that's a decided underdog, before it can happen, you have to believe it can happen. And what difference does it make? If you lose, you lose. But this guy has convinced this bunch of kids out there, led by the youngest kid of all, Mark Sanchez, that they can win a Super Bowl. Yeah, tell them when the parade is. Absolutely.
Oh, taking a page out of Brian Billick's bit, all the way through to the Super Bowl parade.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, I like it. That's who he is. That's all you can do as a coach. Just be who you are. And what did he say one day when he first took the job over there? He goes, guys, come here. Everybody, let's have a little more fun out here. And I would think, let's get ready to listen to Warren, defensive players must love it. I don't know if I'd be as crazy on the offensive side, but what I do like, that's just who he is.
You couldn't be any crazier.
No doubt about it. The defensive players on this team have to love it. And you know what? That filters into the offense. It gives them a little confidence about the game plan and different stuff they're doing. I love Rex Ryan. Give it to me.
Gives them a little swagger.
All right, here's the next one. Do you think it's time for a change at quarterback in Philadelphia? Boy, the Philly newspapers are all over the place on that one. No, you guys played. Chris, what do you think?
You know, it's not always a question, is it one player better than the other? Is the guy that's next in line ready to play? Is Kevin Kolb ready to play and to take over? And I think the answer to that question is yes, if you got the right deal for Donovan. Because Donovan now is at the tail end of his career, and you obviously are at that point right now. So if you got a couple of #1 picks, or if you got a first and a second, then I think Philadelphia has to think pretty hard about it.
Still enough juice in Donovan's game, though?
Oh, believe me, there'll be a ton of interest in Donovan McNabb. The question is, can they get enough to make the move at this point? And I think they're going to get a lot for him.
Why do you say it's the tail end of his career? What makes you think, and, you know, in the NFL, you talk about 2 years, that's forever. And, you know, Donovan McNabb is going to, he's going to play 4 or 5 more years easily if he wants.
Are you, at this point, he has 1 year left on his contract, are you signing him to a 5-year extension?
No.
That's the question.
Well,
that's where they are right now.
Well, why do you have to have these 5-year extensions?
Well, why not get something in return if you've got another quarterback who came in, threw for 300 yards, all the different things. If you got somebody ready, why not go ahead and get the picks?
Indicative of the intensity of the discussion going on in Philly. Your thoughts?
There's 2 places where they don't care who you are or what you do, you're out of there. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Philly, Donovan's gone.
Really? Wow.
Donovan's gone. They've been waiting their whole life to do this to this man, and they finally found their opportunity.
You know, I'll just say this. When I watched their playoff run, not for 1 second when they played it, I think, wow, their problem is at quarterback.
Well, because you aren't in Philadelphia.
And
you look at the
nobody
position
said that.
differently.
Nobody said that. But the question is now, as an organization, are you good enough off at quarterback with Kevin Kolb to go ahead and get a couple of #1 picks? And I think they can get that.
I think the interesting part would be what they do at Westbrook.
Donovan McNabb is how old? 33.
Yep.
That's young.
And how old is Brett Favre?
40.
Oh, okay.
All right, last question. Excluding your own, what is your favorite Super Bowl moment? Starting with Mr. Warren Sapp, your favorite Super Bowl moment?
Well, mine has to be the 1993 Super Bowl in the Georgia Dome. Dallas Cowboys versus the Buffalo Bills. My Cowboys were the worst.
His Cowboys.
My Cowboys were the worst. Hey, you know what? Because as a kid, I never got to watch my Cowboys in the Super Bowl because of the catch and Dwight Clark, but I got you back for that, so don't worry about that. We'll talk about that another day.
Me, it was the 1978 Super Bowl, the Dallas Cowboys, Pittsburgh Steelers, 35-31, the Jackie Smith drop that I just remember being in college with all my buddies. We're sitting there watching. We go, it was just a great game and a very good experience, and I can remember it like it was yesterday.
I'm waiting to hear this, and this is my guy, too. I love him very much, and this was asked very sensitively. Go ahead, Chris.
Mine's Super Bowl 23 with 2.5 minutes to go. I was winning and that much away from being Super Bowl champion. Joe Montana didn't necessarily have to go 90 yards down that field to win that game. I was thinking, I got a shot.
So the defense ain't coming through for you.
I don't care. I don't care. I've been waiting. My therapist said I need to get this stuff out, so I'm getting it out. I'm letting it go,
You should tell your defenders when the ball's thrown to your chest to catch it.
God, don't even talk
That's
about
why they
that.
defend us, though.
Lewis Billups had
Doug Williams, 4 touchdown tosses in 1 quarter in
San Diego.
San Diego?
They were in San Diego playing Denver.
Ooh, 4 of them.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Moment meant a lot to you, huh?
Redskins ain't been
Couldn't even remember which game it was, or it meant a lot to you, I can say.
All right, now we're going to take a moment for a program note. This Sunday, 60 Minutes will air a feature.
Shot. You're throwing out some cheap shots today. Hitting Rex Ryan where it hurts. Who am I?
You are Kurt Warner. Are you really going to retire after this season?
Yeah, why not?
Really?
I mean, look, we're going to go to Notre Dame. We're going to go to New Orleans this week and win in overtime against the Saints. I know they're America's team now. I'm sorry, but we're going to beat the Saints.
Right.
Then we're going to go to Dallas and beat Romo. All right?
Yeah.
And so we're going to have beaten Drew Brees and Romo, which, Tony, I know is going to make you cry.
Well,
I
my
mean,
fantasy
the
league's
water's
over.
just going to run from your eyes.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to Miami and beat Phil Rivers.
So
and
then
that's it. We win the Super Bowl. Why would I come back?
Well, because why would you come back? Because you're only basically 1 year behind Brett Favre in retirements. He's been doing this for about 4 years. You've been doing this for about 3 years. And I don't know how you get away with playing Hamlet every year.
Here's what I got more than Brett Favre.
What?
I got more Super Bowl appearances. In a couple of weeks, I'm going to have more Super Bowl rings. And all you're going to do is wah over Brett Favre. But I'll be in the Hall of Fame, and I got more
why would
than
you
your
retire?
boy.
Why would you retire?
Because I'm leaving on top. Kurt Warner. Thank you, boys and girls.
There we go.
Love Kurt Warner.
Jeremy Shockey says Drew Brees is getting so ready to play this football game that when he shows up at 6 a.m., Brees is already in the building. Shockey joked that tomorrow he's going to show up at 3 a.m. and Brees might still already be here. In Metairie, Louisiana, Scott Hansen, NFL Network.
All right, Scott, to Charles, Scott mentioned it. The Saints get their corners back. Is that going to be enough, though, to help slow down this Arizona offense?
Well, having the corners helps a bunch because they haven't had them, as he already outlined. But what you really need is some pressure. All right, you got to get some guys up front. And unfortunately, Charles Grant's on the IR. So where's the pressure going to come from? They got to get Will Smith going. You know, Anthony Hargrove has filled in and had a really nice year. But they've got to get these corners. They got to get these corners some help because I don't care how good a cover guy you are. If someone's got time to throw it, Trent, you're going to carve them up, aren't you?
Well, and that's the thing. When you talk about pressure and you talk about being able to get in there, the Saints have done a good job of getting penetration in the backfield, stopping the run game, getting pressure on the quarterback, but they've given up the big play, and that's really what has hurt them.
2 offensive games where the New Orleans Saints at home against Tampa Bay and also against Cowboys, they only scored 17 points per. I mean, are you concerned about the Saints offense?
I'm not concerned at all. You talk about they haven't won a game in quite some time. They've rested their starters, but this is going to be a shootout. Don't get me wrong. The defensive coordinators of both teams, they don't want to hear that, but this is going to be a shootout because both defenses, even though they're big play defenses, they give up big plays. And Kurt Warner has done a tremendous job. You look at last week's game, and having played late into my 30s like I did, I understand that what you have to do as a quarterback and the amount of hits that you take standing in there under pressure, he made some incredible throws. You can talk about the yards after catch and the great catches that his receivers have made for him, but he's standing in there making throws and delivering the ball like he's done at no other point in his career. He's really courageous in the pocket.
See, I think that's a point that often gets missed when you see the numbers that were put up by Kurt Warner and were put up by Aaron Rodgers, is that you forget that the defenses were on the field and were trying to get to the quarterback. So they absorbed hits. They had to make great reads. Yes, there were yards after catch, but that's because the ball was put in the right place for these receivers to catch it and keep it going on the move. So both of those quarterbacks were tremendous, but Kurt Warner, 4 balls hitting the ground with that kind of pressure? Because that was, if I'm not mistaken, the #2 defense in the NFL that he carved up in that ball game.
Are those Cardinals defensive linemen going to be gassed 1 week after playing this high-scoring affair where they were basically they were out of gas in the second half?
You know, whatever the